Hey everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge. It's match day, but we've got loads to get into you on the 10 a.m. show. Loads to get into you? Yeah, loads to get into your heads. That sounds bad. Anyway, what I mean is we've got lots of transfer news to get into your heads for you this morning. It was a long night last night. But look, it's going to be a great day today. Man United, Arsenal. We'll talk about what Amorim's had to say ahead of that. But we've got two really big bits of breaking news that are not actually to do with what we were going to talk about. We will talk about Mendes, we will talk about Inacio, but there are two big stories breaking in the last few minutes, almost exclusives on United Stand. The first one is in relation to Casemiro. This is for us. But the very first one I'm going to talk about is Garnacho, Napoli, last few minutes. Reports coming out from multiple Italian sources that Conte sees Garnacho as the heir to Kvaratskhelia throne. And I agree. I actually agree. I don't think they'll get Rashford. So if you're looking for a player to play off the left-hand side as a replacement for your star player, I think Garnacho does really suit it. And the scary thing is, Napoli already have a very historical, passionate link to Argentina in Maradona. Now, I'm not saying Garnacho is Maradona. What I'm saying is this ticks a lot of boxes for Napoli. They've got cash on the hip. They've got a player that fits into that position that they need. And also they've got the Argentinian connection, which their fans will absolutely love. And I think I'm a little bit worried that this could happen, actually. I am a little bit worried that this could happen. Gio says Garnacho's Spanish. He plays for Argentina, mate. Go and check Wikipedia page before you start coming here talking shit. Plays for Argentina. Anyway, I don't know why I get attracted by stupidity. But important thing is that we were talking last night about maybe Napoli and Rashford and the suitability of that. I actually think for Napoli, Garnacho's a better deal because he's younger, he's got a higher ceiling, and Man United might do this. They might do this. I don't want us to do it. I want Garnacho to realise his potential at Manchester United, but obviously there's been a fallout with Amorim. Have they repaired that? Is there some uncertainty? Would they take brand Garnacho to another club in an easier league where he'd be more of a star, where he'd play regularly? Would Man United take that 50 million quid? I think they might. I think they actually might. And I'm actually quite worried about this one developing. Look, hopefully it's a Sunday morning story from Italy that's got no truth to it at all. But Garnacho to Napoli ticks more boxes than Rashford to Napoli. And I think Rashford to Napoli ticks boxes as well. So let's see how that one develops. Yeah, it's an interesting one. Look, people are saying Garnacho's born in Spain. He plays for Argentina. He's Argentinian. I couldn't give a shit where he was born. He's Argentinian. He plays for Argentina. You know it. I know it. Stop trying to be toxic Sunday and clever. The point is, Maradona played for Napoli, Argentinian. Garnacho, Napoli, Argentinian. It's not even the main crux of the story, but he plays for Argentina. Jog on. Right, next story. Exclusive. We're not going to wait around on the morning show talking shit. We are going to delve into lots of stories this morning. It's going to be fast-paced. Exclusive, United Stand. Big shout out to Sam, who works on the United Stand. Follow him on Twitter, Sam C Reports. Get some really good stuff, and it's not always United related, to be fair. Knew about Moyes way before anyone else to Everton. Knew about the sacking of Lopetegui before anyone else. Get some really good stuff. Last night, Al Nazir Communications tweets, head of communications, said that they aren't negotiating with Casemiro. We've been told from our sources over there, this is not true. Casemiro to Al Nazir is not off. The way it works is that the Saudi League isn't run by Al Nazir. It's run by the Saudi League, and the Saudi League negotiates contracts for players to come in. That is the initial stage. That is what's going on with Casemiro. Those are the talks that are taking place. So direct talks with whether he's going to Al Nazir are correct. That hasn't happened yet. These talks are taking place with the Saudi League. This is what they do. It's almost like a franchise. The Saudi League recruits players and then they allocate them to clubs. So what's going on at the moment with Casemiro is the Saudi League deal is not dead. Casemiro will have talks with the Saudi League. These are going to escalate this week. and then he still could get allocated to Al Nassr. So we'll have to wait and see how that happens. But the Casemiro Saudi League thing is not dead. That was just a comment from people working at Al Nassr. This is not the end of the deal. The conversations are still taking place. It's still very much on the cards. Watch out next week. And he could still end up playing with Ronaldo. So it's just how it works. A simple explanation would be Man City saying we're not negotiating for Mamouche. If the Premier League ran that league, it would be the Premier League negotiating with Mamouche, and then he goes to Man City. So don't worry about the Casemiro deal. It can still happen. Mike says, take Garnacho, Conte. We can get better players than him. Don't know why you rate him so highly, says Mike. I mean, it's just opinion. We're not going to fall out about it, are we? I think he's got immense potential. The big problem with Garnacho is whether he fits the system. And we all knew this when Amorim came in. Certain players might not suit the system. And if he doesn't suit the system and we cash in and we have a really good sell-on clause, then we probably don't lose. I think if Garnacho goes, I'd be looking at what we get and what we get in the future, because that's what would worry me, that he does become this player that ends up at Real Madrid and we look at it and go, well done, INEOS, you are a bunch of prats. I think a Garnacho deal with a buyback clause would be a smart way to do it, but United never take the smart route. I agree with you, Ryan. I think these are the conversations that need to happen. Anyone that watches football knows a young generational talent is worth way more than £50 million, says Kieran. Look, I think some people would get rid of Garnacho in this chat, and some people who are watching this would get rid of Garnacho. I like the player. I think there's a great talent there, but I'm also realistic about where he fits in the system, where he fits in Amorim's plans. Amorim's been ruthless with Casemiro and Rashford. He might be ruthless with Garnacho. The big eyes would be on INEOS and what deal they did. Plenty of clubs sell players. Man City sell players. I'm not fearful of selling players that I think are good. I'm fearful about how that works in 3 or 4 years if they become good and we've got nothing there. I mean, Mason Greenwood, I don't think he'll ever end up playing for Man United again, but we will make money off Mason Greenwood if he moves from Marseille. That's what you need to do if that's going to happen. Garnacho is the one player in that team that I always imagined will inevitably end up at Real Madrid. Whether we sell him now or later, it's inevitable. Fair point, David. And Mike JBA with a super chat this morning says, interesting Sunday transfer news indeed, but more importantly, have you picked up the Onana shirt yet? I heard they're brilliant. Absolutely not. But nice to have 2 really good stories there. The Casemiro one is, you can take that to the papers if you want. That is coming in from a really good source. Right, let me hit what I was going to be talking about this morning. We've still got Amorim talking about Mainoo, by the way. We'll talk about that. But get me Mendes and Inacio, Amorim's transfer request. That's what we were going to be talking about, and that's what we will talk about now for the next few minutes. Now, Portuguese reports are saying that Inacio is available, that Sporting will do a deal in January, that his agent's flying around Europe, that it's 35 million euros. They'll do a loan to buy, obligation to buy, whatever. They're looking to do that deal. Apparently Sporting have changed their system, and they see Inacio as a player that they could cash in on. Amorim obviously has managed this player, developed this player, left-footed centre-back, can play in a back 5. Apparently he can play more to the left as a left-back as well. That deal can be done. Mendes played under Amorim as well, wants to come to Manchester United, left-back, can be done. PSG need to raise money. He won't sign a new contract. So there's 2 deals that can be done. And these are awkward for INEOS and Man United because at the moment, they're sort of up the creek without a paddle. They can't say, the market's not good. They can't say there's no value in the market. They can't say our targets. The big thing that I hear from Man United and INEOS is that we're not looking to do anything in January, but if an opportunity presents itself, we will. We've been hearing that for months. 2 opportunities are there. So if we come out of January and we don't sign Mendes or we don't sign Inacio, then they're liars. Because we have been told that if an opportunity presents itself, we will take it. Now, you could say that Kvaratskhelia is an opportunity that Man United would like, but we're nowhere near it. So you could say there are 3 or 4 opportunities there, to be fair, that would be Amorim-type signings. So what's the excuse here? Like, these are opportunities. They are not 90, 100 million pound opportunities. They are 30, 40 million pound opportunities. And still, we might not do them. Portuguese reports are on about Inacio again this morning. There's lots of talk about Mendes and how he won't sign a new contract, and PSG would take the money at the moment because they need it to fund other deals. They're not just looking at Napoli, and they're also looking at Duran from Villa. So PSG are looking to raise funds, and I think that those opportunities are there for Manchester United for players that would fit the system. The interesting thing is, if we hit January the 31st and all we bring in is a loan deal, you're sort of left there going, so opportunities were there for players that would enhance Amorim's team in his first ever transfer window, and you basically lied about you will move if opportunities present themselves. Man United are staring at 2 or 3 opportunities for players that suit Amorim's system like a glove, especially Inacio and Mendes. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? And I'm sort of sat there going, look, I'd love to say they'll do it. I don't know. And if they don't do it, they're liars, because we have been briefed that the January transfer window is challenging, but if opportunities present themselves, we will go for them. And those opportunities are basically opportunities like Chelsea with Enzo Fernandez, where there is a player of such quality that will go straight into your first team. You're an idiot if you ignore it. And we're not talking about Sabitzer or Weghorst or Ighalo here. We're talking about players that are Amorim players that probably go straight into the first team and are available for reasonable prices. And we're going to go, no, because we're such a shitly run club. We haven't got any money, and we like to do it in June, after June the 30th for FFP, because the spreadsheet says no. And that's the disappointing thing. These opportunities that they said they would act upon if they presented themselves, I think they said it thinking these opportunities won't come up in January. No one's going to want to sell. And what we've actually seen in this January transfer window so far is that players that you think aren't available in January are. And that's not just in relation to us. Other clubs are doing deals that you would think middle of the season, probably not going to happen. Napoli are in a bloody title race and they're about to sell their star player. So I think the landscape of the transfer window, thankfully, is changing, and it's making mugs of Man United, and it's certainly making mugs of our previous director of football and CEO, who used to sit there going, we don't like doing business in January. We think the summer's the best time to do it. The January transfer window is changing, and it's changing by the year. It's not just about loaning in Timo Werner anymore. It's about signing Napoli's best player. It's about signing Aston Villa's best player. It's about signing Dortmund's best player. You can buy players in January now, and I think that makes football more interesting, because at the end of the day, it's like half time in a season, isn't it? You can look at something and go, I want that now. I don't want it in the summer. We're on the cusp of doing something really special. I want it now. And that's where we are. And these opportunities are there for Man United. And what we're finding out is the truth, or what we're going to find out is the truth. When they say, we'll act in the January transfer window, but only if it's an opportunity we want, we're looking at those opportunities. We know they're available, and we're sort of like going, well, come on then. And if they don't do it, we are what we've always been, a club that is a business and isn't actually focused on on-field activities. We're focused on making money off the field, saving money off the field for owners that don't have the best interests of the fans or the club at heart. So let's wait and see what happens over the next couple of weeks. Inacio, loan plus obligation to buy Mendes in the summer, says Kizile. I think, look, I'll always be even-handed where I can be. And as much as I agree with everything I've just said there are two opportunities in Inacio and Mendes. We would not get both. If we got one of them, I wouldn't be screaming and shouting for the other. I might be in the minority here, but realism is important. And we don't actually need Inacio and Mendes in January. One of them is absolutely fine, but they are both opportunities, so both should be mentioned, and they are both available at very good prices, and they both would want to come to Man United, and both clubs who own them would do a deal if we were aggressive enough. But we don't need both. If you went and got Inacio and Mendes, you're benching one of them straight away. And I think it would be Inacio, because Mendes would go to the left wing-back spot. Where does Inacio play when you've got Martinez, Maguire, De Ligt, Yoro? I think we do need a left-footed centre-back, but we don't necessarily need them in January. I mean, look, if we did both, I'd say, well done. This is the sort of stuff that we need. And INEOS are capable of it. I was happy with the summer transfer window. So they are capable. Not everything they've done is shit, But I wouldn't even say we need both. If we get both, amazing. We won't. We probably won't get either, let's be honest. But to not get one is a joke. But you know what I'm saying? Do we need Mendes and Inacio in January? One of them probably should be in the summer. But that's because Inacio probably wouldn't go straight into the team when you've got Martinez there. So I'm not even saying get both. If you do, happy days, but certainly you've got to go for one of them. It doesn't make any sense. Francois says, beggars can't be choosers. I know we're probably not all in the race for Kvaratskhelia, but he is amazing quality. The entertainment factor should be there too, and that's always been classic Man United, says Francois. I don't know where that Kvara, I'm just going to call him that, story even came from with regards to Man United. I mean, I think sometimes you look at it and you go, that was never going to happen. Isaac says, LA Man United fans supporting through fires. Yeah, look, unfortunately, we live in a planet where Manchester United, well, this is not unfortunate. Fortunately, we have an amazing fan base all around the world. And the United stand for 10 years has always been about that. We don't do this locality fan is better than the global fan. We are all one big community. And unfortunately, with that, every single day, it feels like some area of our community is going through bad times. And over the years we've been doing this, we've had natural disasters and events that have impacted all parts of the world. At the moment, we have this horrible scenes in LA, and obviously it resonates because there are so many iconic areas in that area. There's a lot of people that, you know, I mean, you can't move for film stars whose houses are burnt down. So, you know, it's in your face all the time. And you know, it just shows, doesn't it? You can be in one of the most wealthiest areas of the world and poorest areas of the world, and the world doesn't discriminate when it comes to these sort of things. So obviously thoughts and prayers with everybody who is impacted by that. And I suppose actually bringing it back to football, it just shows you, doesn't it? You know, you look at those fires in LA, and then you look at some of the bad things that happen in poor regions of the earth, and it doesn't discriminate. And you look at Manchester United, and we are almost that rich entity that was so big that we thought we were untouchable. And that's what always pisses me off about the downfall of Manchester United, is I remember a journalist, I just can't remember the journalist who said it, a few years ago. They said, I can live with this because I experienced the good times. So, you know, we've had the good times, we're going to have to put up with the bad times. I have always disagreed with that, because I remember the bad times in the late 80s, you know, when I was a kid. United had no experience of United winning trophies, let alone titles. And then obviously in the 90s, it just blew up. But when we weren't winning it in the 80s, I didn't really understand it, but it was not the same as not winning in the last 10 years. This is sabotage. We have been a bad football club, categorically, 100%. We have been a bad football club for 11 years because we've been sabotaged by our owners. We were the best team in England. We just won the league. Sir Alex Ferguson left, and they basically destroyed the club year after year after year. It's got nothing to do with cycles. I think that post Sir Alex, we should have won more titles, but we wouldn't have dominated. Man City still would have won a lot of trophies. We never should have left the top four, and we should have kept competing. Where we've gone, we never should have gone. That's not about, well, I've had the good times, so I'll have the bad times. I can't honestly say to Seb or my daughter who support United, I can't honestly say it goes in swings and roundabouts. When I was a kid, United were great. You're just going to go through a few years of badness and then you'll get the great times. I honestly can't say that, because I don't see this as a cycle. I see this as a deliberate act by the Glazers, who are, whilst they're in charge, they're basically, if Man United were trying to stay afloat, the Glazers are grabbing both ankles and pulling you down. That's not about we will surface. They are drowning this football club in the way that they've run it. This is not a cycle. This is absolutely deliberately pulling Man United down. Obviously, they don't think they're doing it deliberately, but as an outsider looking in, I think we can all look at it and go, this is going to sink this football club. And still they do it. Inacio loan plus, I've done that one from Kizale. The issue with selling Garnacho is the lack of time for a replacement. We haven't got one for Rashford, says Hader. How do people believe we are in for Kvaratskhelia when we play without wingers and are selling our wingers because they don't suit the system? Why would Amorim buy him? Because, Vitor, I think he would work brilliantly behind the striker. I think what you've got to do is, when you look at Sporting, they had wingers. They had a lot of wingers, and those wingers played wide or behind the striker. The problem we've got is the profile of our wingers aren't the same as theirs. We do need wingers. They have to be wingers who work hard, and they have to be wingers who can play behind the striker. Now, Kvaratskhelia can do that. And there's plenty of Anthony Gordon can do that. There's plenty of wingers that can work back, play wide, or they can play in behind the striker, technically. The problem we've got is a lot of our wingers, as we've seen over the last few years, are very identical wingers. They don't work hard back. They don't create. They're basically wide attackers. That doesn't work behind a striker centrally, and that doesn't work as a wide player that's got to defend. The profile of our wingers is wrong. We have attacking wingers who want to play wide, cut in and shoot, whether that's Anthony, Garnacho, Rashford. They don't want to track back, which is what you've got to do in a wing-back system. And they don't want to create, which is what you've got to do in an Amorim system. So it's the profile of the wingers. We need wingers, and Kvaratskhelia would be a very good player to play behind the Rasmus role with Bruno or whoever else. So we do need wingers. We just don't have the right profile. Inacio can definitely take the Martinez spot. Martinez has been shocking. I agree that Inacio would be a very good signing. But do you need him in January when you've got Martinez till the summer at least? Hey, have you heard more on the Nipan deal? I think we would be perfect, says Bjorn. The last I heard on the Nipan deal was that Man United aren't in the race for Nipan anymore. I don't know about that. Apparently Arsenal are leading the race. Let's wait and see. I've always said with Nipan, let's wait and see. He's definitely a young attacking midfielder that's available, and I'd hate to see him go to Arsenal and be another Odegaard where we need an Odegaard. You're advocating for the Ten Hag transfer strategy of buying all the manager's ex-players. We learn nothing, says F Soccer. I will hit this. I'm very happy to answer this one. So I'm advocating Ten Hag transfer strategy of buying all the manager's ex-players. Casemiro wasn't an ex-player of Erik Ten Hag. Neither was Rasmus. Neither was Mason Mount. Neither was Christian Eriksen. So this is a bit of a myth. And on top of that, Martinez was an ex-player of his who's done very, very well. Mazraoui was an ex-player of his who's done very, very well. De Ligt is an ex-player of his who is doing well. So I think you should go and have a look at people like Jose Mourinho and how many ex-players he's brought in over the years and won titles with. Don't be a xenophobic British prat. This has been led by absolute morons in the media who didn't like the fact that we went with Ten Hag over Pochettino, so instantly moaned about Ten Hag's desire to bring in players that he'd worked with before. This has never been an issue until the British press decided to go in on Ten Hag for it. If I take over a company tomorrow that's failing, and I've been at a previous company where I know people who can come in and do the job who I trust, I'm a bloody moron if I don't bring them in. And that goes for Jose Mourinho, Jurgen Klopp, Ruben Amorim, or any other manager. There is no issue with bringing in players from a club that you've worked at before, especially when you have a very specialist system like Amorim. So you don't want Gyökeres then. You don't want Mendes. You know, you wouldn't take Hulmland. You've got to balance it, but you can't just say, oh, I don't want a manager that brings in players that have played for him before in a system that we brought him in to do. That is a myth perpetuated by the British media who used it as a silly reason to go after Erik Ten Hag, and actually it's not based on fact at all. If you look at where Ten Hag went wrong, for me, Ten Hag went wrong in many, many areas, but recruiting players that he'd worked with before wasn't actually a total failure. Anthony will always be the poster boy for that, but I don't think anybody else really does. Constantine says Luke Shaw is almost back from injury. I've given up on Luke Shaw. Breaking news on a Sunday. I'll always think he's a good player, but the last 12 months of Luke Shaw, I've just sort of given up. I don't have an emotion. Whether it's good or bad, I don't have an emotion with Luke Shaw. You know, the TikTok at New Year I just thought was fucking stupid. But, you know, the big issue with Luke Shaw for me will always be you don't play for Man United for 6 months. You get yourself fit for England and then you get injured and you don't play for Man United for another 6 months. Priorities, no apology, nothing. If he was Anthony Martial or Paul Pogba, he would have been slated every single day by our media. I've given up on Luke Shaw. I don't think he'll ever be fit anyway, and I don't think he betrays the personality or vibes of somebody that actually gives a shit about Man United. So I've given up on him. I really don't care whether he's back from injury or not. We need to move on and move forward. If he can get back and play well every week, then, as I've always said, he's one of the best left backs in the world and he's an absolute asset. And I'm never going to change my mind on that. But the way it's gone over the last 18 months, I don't think he could have managed it any better. And I don't know how we're meant to be excited about the return of a player that hasn't apologised for his behaviour around England in the summer, which I thought was absolutely disgusting. And he never, you know, but he's not the worst problem at Man United. But if I could cash in on him tomorrow, I would, because we've got to be ruthless. And people will be going, you're being really unfair. I really like Luke Shaw. Hold on a minute. I've backed Luke Shaw for years. He's a fantastic footballer, but I've just checked out, unfortunately. Doesn't mean I can't check back in, but the Hotel Luke Shaw I've checked out of. The solution at left back is not him. Whereas I think for a long time, I really did think it was. Not been in. Sean Turner's back. You haven't been in here for a while, Sean. I've been worried about you. Well, Sean Turner's back, and he says, not been here for a while, but to all the clowns on Twitter and the British media saying, look at the top teams lining up for Rashford. Do they not realise it's not going? He's not for sporting reasons. It's shirt sales and more eyes. I don't really go. I don't really read any of this, Sean. So it's news to me about that. But as I said before, if I was a president of any top European club, I'd be ringing up for Marcus Rashford. And there's one reason for that. It's a loan deal. It's a free deal. Like, if Man United wanted 80 million, the phone wouldn't ring. So there's always texture to the conversation. So, Sean, if people are out there going, we're making a mistake letting him go, look at the amount of clubs that want him, set that price tag as 50 million, actually. Forget 80. Set the price tag at 50 million. Actually, set the price tag at 40 million and the phone calls will dry up. This is because it's a loan deal. And quite rightly, everybody's ringing up because it's a free deal till the summer. That's why the phone's ringing, because what can go wrong if you loan Marcus Rashford between now and the summer? If it goes wrong, you send him back. You're not committed and you're only paying half his wages. So in the modern day, Marcus Rashford for free on 150 grand a week, yes, please. Let's give it a go. Because that he might score a few goals that get you into Europe, win you a trophy. So that's the texture to it, isn't it? Anyway, thank you, Sean. Hope you're doing well. Vitor says, I'm from Portugal. Welcome. And watch Sporting. He didn't play with wingers behind the striker. That's a myth. And Kvaratskhelia is really wide player, not inside. Vitor, I think you're just trying to be a bit of a hipster and you're completely wrong. You might want to speak to the many people who follow Sporting, who have been speaking to us for months and have given us spreadsheets, articles that we've read. He definitely did use wingers in behind the striker in the two. So I don't know who you are. I don't think you're from Portugal and I don't think you watch Sporting, because the live chat is going to be full of names of people that played in behind the striker, in behind Gyökeres, who were wingers. He had about 6 of them. Even the lad who plays on the right-hand side, Quenda, has played in behind the striker. So I don't know what you want me to say, Vitor, but you're talking out your arse. Trincao is another one as well. Look, I don't even follow Sporting that much, but in the few months that the first month that we got him, we spent a lot of time looking at Sporting, and he 100% uses wingers behind the striker and on the wing. Not exclusively. Ultimately, there will be other players in play there, but you're talking like, you're talking too definitive. As for Kvaratskhelia, having the ability to play inside behind the striker, 100%. 100%. He's not a bloody speed merchant winger who shoots. Kvaratskhelia has got creativity to him. He would be able to play in behind the striker comfortably. Have you spoken about Diego Leon yet, says Stephen? I don't really have any intention of talking about Leon because we spoke about... What I don't like to do, and having done this for a while, I don't think you like it. I don't think you like repetitional stories that aren't going to go anywhere. Diego Leon is in Manchester to do his medical. Do you want me to do a video? Deal done? Official? We did them 3 weeks ago. He's not signing until the summer. It's a boring story. We will see him on the tour and we'll see what happens with him. He might instantly go on loan. He might go in the youth team. We are signing him. It's deal done. It's nice that he's flying in. I've seen a lot of the stuff, but to be honest with you, I almost feel, again, it's a little bit like Ahmad's new contract or Mainoo's new contract. It's like a new signing that you did a month ago. Like, I'm not falling into that trap. The January transfer window is open. We're not doing anything. Opportunities are there that INEOS said they would move upon. Diego Leon shouldn't be getting videos or space because we've already spoken about it. It's like a new signing. There are stuff that we can do, and we should be talking about that. And we feed into the INEOS spin if we start spending minutes talking about Diego Leon or the new Anana shirt. Rico, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you. Ardo says, United's downfall is simple strategy. In the corporate world, you can constantly review external context and renew internal strengths to adapt and keep competing. United leadership got complacent. Thank you very much for that. Let's talk football, says Sel. Rashford, Casemiro, Garnacho by Mendes, Kvaratskhelia and Lone Moani would be a great window. It won't happen, but I can dream. I think if we were owned by Todd Boehly, it would happen. I mean, have I just dropped the biggest truth of the January transfer window? You've just explained something that if we were owned by Todd Boehly would happen. Sell Casemiro, Rashford and Garnacho, or loan, you know what I mean. Loan Rashford, sell Casemiro, sell Garnacho, buy Mendes, buy Douglas Luiz, Kvaratskhelia and Lone Moani. I think that would happen if we were owned by Todd Boehly because it's exactly what they were doing 2 years ago. And they're all doable. Rashford out on loan, Garnacho gets sold, Casemiro gets sold, you buy Mendes, you bring Douglas Luiz in, you bring in Kvaratskhelia and you bring in Moani, and you've just done amazing business in January. Unfortunately, we don't have that sort of aggression or ambition because we are indoctrinated, i.e. we are so used to being told, no, computer says no, computer says no. We're not behaving like a football club. As we were talking about yesterday, and Swedish Rumble was doing it on Twitter, you've got to take risks to be successful in football. You can't do it from a calculator. Every piece of history shows that successful teams are teams that are, they speculate to accumulate. You've got to win to make money in football. You can't do it gradually. You can't do it by marginal gains. You've got to go out there and be aggressive and get the best players you can quickly. Because if you're getting one good player every year and then you think you're going to be successful in 3, forget about it. Because there'll be a club that goes and gets 2 or 3 because they're desperate. And that's how it works. You've got to go out and be aggressive. We all mocked and laughed at Chelsea. I remember Carragher and Gary Neville rinsing Todd Boehly. What's he doing over here in England with his American ideas? He's an absolute clown. They've shut up now. Yeah, they laughed at him then, but they've shut up now, haven't they? Because suddenly Chelsea are looking like a very dangerous entity with a lot of young players and a lot of talent, and they're in the top 4. So, you know what? What's United's plan? Anyway, I just want to talk about what Ruben Amorim had to say because we are obviously going to be back live with you at 1 o'clock and we've got Kev's Van Cam as well. Where are we with... I just want to find these comments from... He was basically talking about Amorim. No, Amorim wasn't talking about himself. Amorim was talking about Kobe Mainoo. I will find the comments for you. I should have been prepared. I should have been prepared for this. Where is it? Here we go. Was it this one? Yes, it will be on here. So, yeah, on the Garnacho thing, Conte personally apparently wants Garnacho. So, very interested to see what he says there. Okay, Kobe Mainoo. I think you guys, journalists, feel like Mainoo is the finished product. He is not. He's got so much potential to grow up even more. He is really, really good, but he can be so much better. I mean, that quote is almost what we were talking about in the week when some of you were saying we should cash in, he's not worth it. I think people forget with Kobe Mainoo, no matter how good he is now, I've played the game. I've seen what Paul Scholes was like at 20, what David Beckham was like at 20, what Cristiano Ronaldo was like at 20, and oh my God, what they became at 24. It's just unbelievable. So with Kobe Mainoo, yes, he's been to the Euros with England. Yes, he's scored an FA Cup final. Yes, he's a very exciting player in a very difficult position to play. I mean, he was playing holding midfielder at St James's Park, Goodison Park, over a year ago when he was 18. His potential is incredible, and I think Amorim is right to bring that sort of a comment in, because when people say, oh, let's just cash in on him, you could be letting him go for £80 million to somebody, and in 4 years' time, he's worth double that, and we're sort of like going, wow, we got 80 for him. You know, it would be absolute stupidity. The more I think about the Amorim, the more I think about the Mainoo situation, the more I'm going to double down on what I said yesterday. I think this story that we'd sell Mainoo is all deliberate PR. I really do. I think, and public relations is, you know, about enhancing your reputation. Well, how do you enhance your reputation if you're INEOS? By putting Mainoo up for sale? Because you throw a negative and then you throw a positive. It's like a heel turn. Have you ever watched like wrestling? You got a bad guy in wrestling and everybody hates him. Like everybody hates him. He keeps ruining the fights. He's horrible. And then suddenly there's a big fight and the bad guy turns and becomes good. And everyone likes him more than the good guys, even though they hated him a week before. It's a classic WWE wrestling tactic. And I think INEOS, we have got American connections. You're going to sell Mainoo. Oh, you're horrible. You're horrible. We hate you, INEOS. We hate you. 2 weeks later, we've signed him on a new contract. Yeah, you're amazing. It's like a new signing. And I think that is what's happening with Mainoo. I don't think we've got any intention of selling him. I think it was a story put out there to build a negative into a positive. Amorim also speaking about Ugarte, saying that since he had him at Sporting, he's actually a better player. Basically talking about PSG and how training at PSG has improved him, how he's still a defensive animal, but he's much better on the ball now than he was. So I think that nice to see Amorim focusing on Mainoo and Ugarte, because I think they are absolutely two massive players for Manchester United. And we are playing Arsenal later today. I can't wait for this game. 3 o'clock kickoff. Don't get locked into Premier League times. It's not a 4:30 or a 4. It's a 3 o'clock kickoff. So we're going to be live about 1 o'clock. I'll be with you for the watch along for 3 o'clock. I'm really excited. I'm looking forward to this game anyway, but I'm looking forward to Man United Southampton on Thursday. Desperately need some escapism at the moment. The trouble with transfer news is it can get you down when things aren't going the way they want you to, and it can become quite, draining. So to actually have some escapism. But remember, we are the FA Cup holders. We should not be going silently into tonight out of this trophy. We should be fighting with everything we've got. Arsenal, I believe, are vulnerable. We have the right to be confident after Arsenal, after Villa, after Liverpool. We've had a week off. I believe in this team. They showed us at Anfield that they can keep the ball and be brave. They showed us at the Emirates and the Etihad they can keep the ball and be brave. We've got to defend corners. We have to defend corners. Like, we cannot be Dracula FC. We've got to deal with those crosses. And if we don't, I'll be very, very pissed off. Because I've seen teams in recent weeks deal with those corners quite comfortably from Arsenal. We really struggled with it. If we can deal with their corners, I fancy our chances. I really, really do. Thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you smash a like and subscribe. Lots to get into on the morning show. Love that. And we will be back with you very, very soon. So make sure you smash a like and subscribe. Cheers, everyone. Take care. Looking forward to later.